All right. What's up, guys? I don't even know if I'm live any right now, but if I am, I've got two guests with me. We got Footy with an Edge, Andy from Footy with an Edge, and Rishi. I think some of you guys know who they are, and if you don't know who they are, shame on you. You should be going to their channel and checking out their videos. Andy and Rishi have been making some really good videos. I know Andy's the one who mostly makes the videos, and like I said, if you guys haven't checked out Footy with an Edge, go and check them out. These guys do a really good job. And Andy does like really good research, more than I do, to be honest with you, with the stats and the deep dives. So go check them out. And I think you're going to like this discussion with these guys today. Andy, Rishi, thank you, man. Thank you guys for joining me on my channel. And I can't wait to have this talk, man. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. Excited to be here. Excited to hear from you. I have to say, fair few comments on my videos as well, talking about people getting excited about us doing this collab. People have also mentioned the Muppeteers, and Rishi was actually the first one to share your channel with me, and I saw some good stuff there. You're definitely doing the right things. So excited to be here. Excited to share my thoughts and obviously learn from you as well.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, I learned a lot from just looking at the way you break down stats. It was really interesting. I love that video you did about the athletic. And anybody here who hasn't seen it, go check it out, man. Honestly, it's worth it. I've said it already on last video, so go check it out. And I wanted to start today's discussion with our captain, Bruno Fernandes, because it's actually the last thing I saw on the internet before we went live. So Bruno did an interview, and I believe it was with the Telegraph or the Independent. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was the Telegraph. And he was talking about the summer transfer window and what went down with the Saudi Arabia deal and other European clubs. I'm not going to go into much detail about the Saudi Arabia deal other than just to say it was going to be anywhere from 80 to 100 million euros. And our CEO, Jason Wilcox, our technical director, and our manager all told Bruno if he wants to leave, he can, but they wanted him to stay. That's not what really caught my eye. That's not surprising. What caught my eye is when he talked about European clubs. He said there were a lot of European clubs that came in for him. But he said that unless they were willing to put big money on the table for the club, he wasn't interested. And so they all just kind of dropped off because he didn't show any interest in leaving. Guys, when I read that, I started thinking like class of 92 type of respect. Like the Neville brothers, Scholesy, Beckham, the kind of respect that we've missed for a while in our players. He seemed to me like he wouldn't move unless it was good for the club. And that just kind of blew me away. Any ideas when you hear that kind of thing or that kind of story? I don't know if this is the first time you've heard that, but what's the first thing that struck in your mind when you heard that?
Honestly, I'll be honest with you, Samix. I feel like I don't really understand the person that hates on Bruno, right? The United fan. I can understand rivals hating on Bruno because you need the smallest things to hate on rival players. I totally get that, but I feel like Bruno has given everything for this club, right? Anytime anything is asked of him, in fact, his criticism of him is probably he tries to do too much, right? Because so much is put on his shoulder, and so him doing something like this, does it surprise me? Not really, right? What surprises me is that maybe more players aren't like this in some sense because their entire living is coming off of the club that they play for, right? Their legacy. Like Bruno will retire at some point, and for the next 40 years of his life, will still be a United player for everybody, right? For you, for me, till we take our last breath, we'll always think about the good things that Bruno did and some of the bad things as well. But he's definitely given everything he had. There's no question about it. And the best example of it is the Liverpool game, where he was so knackered because he gave every single drop of energy that he had to be substituted in the 85th minute. That wasn't a tactical substitution. That wasn't anything else. He basically ran the midfield against three midfielders that we consider to be, much better than him on paper. Even when the combined 11s happened on Saturday Social, they picked McAllister over Bruno, right? So there's a lot of people that disrespect him. And I'm not surprised that he shows this type of loyalty to the club. I don't know what Rishi thinks about it.
The only thing you need to know about Bruno is that he is the most hated player among the Liverpool player base, not even the fan base. If you guys know Lawrence McKenna, back when he used to hate on United, now he's a United lover. Everyone drinks the Kool-Aid eventually. Uh, he was very close to a lot of these Liverpool players, and he says, "I know for a fact they all hate Bruno." Now they don't hate Bruno because he has an ugly face, or I'm not saying he has an ugly face, but they don't hate him for superficial reasons. They hate him because he's the one guy who gives his everything, right? Who gives his everything on the pitch. He's the one with the best talent, the highest talent, and the amount of quality. So if the opposition hates on a player of yours, it means that he's doing something right. He's doing some things right. So Bruno, for me, like the one person whose name in the last 5 years I wouldn't mind getting on the back of my shirt. He's that player, right? I don't know. There might be Rashford fans out there, or there might have been the odd fan of another player, but Bruno's the guy for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Bruno toxicity has started about since we started going really bad after Ollie left. I think after Ollie left, the team has just been bad. It's just been bad.
I think it's
And
when Ronaldo joined specifically, because when he joined, that's when Bruno's goal numbers really went down, because he was so focused on getting Ronaldo the assists and playing for somebody else in the team. Whereas before that, when we had Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, Bruno had like 50 goals in one of the years, in one calendar year at some point, and he was or 50 goals and assists. And when Ronaldo joined is when it started going downhill. And you could argue that was an inflection point for the whole club as well. But sorry to interrupt.
No. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Like that's probably which is exactly around Ollie's time, right? The second season with Ollie, when things started going really bad. And you're right. Like Bruno has this innate feature in him where he sometimes picks players that he wants to feed goals to, right? Like you saw it with Rasmus. He would force passes to Rasmus when there was another player who was open. I saw it just 2 or 3 games ago with Šeško, especially Šeško's first start. In Šeško's first start, I saw Bruno make a bad decision right around the opponent's box because he was trying to squeeze the ball to Šeško instead of just playing to the
pass
open
that
man.
was going to Ahmad. There was Ahmad on the left-hand side, and he passed it to Šeško on the right.
Correct, exactly. And I don't know if that's a bad trait, but it's not great. I'd rather just you play the best ball there is, but there's this innate trait in him. And when CR7 joined the team, Bruno was thinking, how many assists can I give him, right? But when things started going bad, and because he's somebody who touches the ball a lot, you're going to see him make a lot of mistakes because his job is to try risky passes. Everybody else's job is to keep it kind of safe, which is Bruno's job to create, right? So he's the one who's always going to look bad when things don't go well. And now when you add on top of that like a fan favorite, Kobbie Mainoo, is going to have to sit on the bench for him because there's only 2 midfielders in this system, and Kobbie's competing with Mainoo, it just multiplies the hate. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think the other thing people need to realize is that it's very easy to dislike something you don't understand, right? So in many cases, what people have failed to understand is that Bruno has played 80-90% of his Man United career under coaches that have just tried to play counterattacking football. And they've tried to play counterattacking football because that's been the talent ID of our squad, right? Rashford is a counterattacking player. Greenwood was very good at counterattacking. Martial also very good at counterattacking. Our midfield of McTominay and Fred, not really good at maintaining possession and pinning teams in their own half, right? So we were much better at playing with 30, 40, 45% possession and then hit teams on the counterattack. Even when we finished second under Ollie, that's exactly what we did for a whole season. And I've done some coverage of this on my channel as well, where I looked at essentially how much possession correlates to winning points, right? And if you have more than 60% possession, you're much more likely to win the league. And that's, a statistically significant thing. which across the top 5 European leagues since 2015 or 16, you can get much more than 2 points per game if you have more than 60% possession. And it's very rare to have more than 2 points per game across a whole season if you have less than 50% possession, right? I think Leicester is one of the only, outliers, and that happened 9 years ago now, right? So you have to realize that the Bruno hatred has to do with the players that he's playing with, the team he's playing in, the manager and their styles, and what he's required to do, right? Because we're seeing this season under Amorim, how many Hollywood passes has he attempted, right?
Not
Bruno
many.
gets Bruno gets a lot of shit for his Hollywood passes. He's not doing that now, is he?
No, but the system doesn't call for it, and that's what
Yeah.
people don't realize. Like, he's doing something that he's forced to do. Like, there's no other way to create in those other systems. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I was one of the few that even during Ollie's time or Ten Hag's time going, he's our best player, guys. Like, he's our best player. I'm frustrated too, but I don't know what other choice he has. He's trying to lift up a crappy team by himself. He's carrying everybody on his shoulders. And honestly, like, if he wasn't that way, he would have started to slack off. But he's the kind of person that doesn't, like, he just starts going all over the pitch even more out of frustration, whereas other players will just start walking when they're frustrated at their teammates. You know what I mean? When they go, everything's going wrong. Why am I going to try? That guy's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Bruno's like, everything's going wrong. Can I go help over there? Can I go help over there? And sometimes that's not good. And you go like, man, just work on your area of the pitch and let other players figure out their area of pitch. But he's not like that, right? Like, he is a real captain. He is a real person who wants to help every teammate.
Yeah.
A part of the story that came out, I believe, from The Athletic, or it might be from the same story from The Independent, is that after the Liverpool win, all the players that played a large amount of time in that game got the day off the next day. Bruno was at training just to watch the other teammates train. He could have stayed home with his family that day, and it would have been a much deserved day off. And he was at training to watch. And you don't hear these stories. Stuff I've heard is that whenever a new player gets recruited in who's coming from a different country, Bruno helps them figure out where to buy groceries, what home to buy. Like, he helps them find a nanny for their kids or what school their kids should go to. These are things we don't know about, that we don't hear about all the time. But this is a guy who spends his spare time helping new guys he doesn't know get acclimated to Manchester.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what I would say to that is, based on, like you mentioned very correctly, he's trying to be the problem solver everywhere, right? He's almost like the coach on the pitch, because he's saying, oh, we're having trouble creating from the left-hand side. Let me go spend some time there. Having trouble creating from the right-hand side. Let me go spend some time there. So you can tell from his play style that he's, even in his personal life, he's that magnanimous personality. And so I'm not surprised that he's, offering to do those things for his teammates and for new people to settle into sort of a new country, right? But I want to ask you a question, Samix, on this topic. What do you think the point is of him making these comments? Because it kind of, on one angle seems like he's throwing the Ineos and, some of the decision makers under the bus and saying that, they kind of wanted me to leave, but I decided to stay.
He didn't say they kind of wanted me to leave. Like, I felt more like he said they were okay with him leaving because it was good money, but they were also okay with him staying. And one of the quotes is that he was told, we're going to bring in new players to help you, and we think we're going to have an important season. And his contract ends in 2027, but there's also an optional year. So really, his contract doesn't end until 2028 if we want to keep him that long. So, I mean, I'm starting to think I don't think Bruno's leaving after this summer either.
Would you want to keep him? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. But with a caveat. I think this is a good time to transition the conversation to the next topic, because I wanted to roll this topic right into the Kobbie Mainoo topic, because I think that's something that hasn't been talked about in an intelligent way enough. It's very fandom. It's very, we're ruining Kobbie's career and Bruno needs to sit on the bench. He made a bad pass, right? So this is somewhere where people are going to maybe disagree with me, but I want you to kind of see it from my perspective for 5 seconds and then tell me what you think. As somebody who's worked with young, talented players, I feel like pressure is good for them, but it's got to be the right kind of pressure. When Ruben says things in press conferences like Kobbie's going to have to be better in training, he's competing with Bruno, he has to earn his spot. And then you have fans say, it's never going to happen. Bruno's a manager's favorite. He's the captain. Kobbie has no chance. If that's Kobbie's mentality, then he's never going to be the player we all want him to be. Do you understand? Like, I work with young, talented players, and I've worked with players who have two different mentalities. And the ones who make it are the ones who want to fight. The ones who want it without a fight are the ones who burn bright for about a year, 2, maybe 3, and then stop being good. Like, they just become a little better than average. But the ones who actually become better are the ones who go through that struggle that I literally create for them at work. I literally make it hard on purpose, and I make it easy for a not so talented player because I don't want to crush that player's confidence. But the more talented the player is, the bigger asshole I am. And I'm sorry to curse. But that's what I've learned, because in my younger, I've been doing it for like 14 years. So in my earlier days, I used to treat everybody the same. You know what I mean? Like HR, American style. You know what I mean? Everybody's equal. And I would feel bad because the good players just stayed at the same level they were 3 years ago, 3 years later. Whereas I started reading books about this kind of stuff. I wanted to be a better coach, right? So I think this is good for Kobbie. Just like a diamond, you got to go through these rough times to come out and shine. Does that make sense? So do I want Bruno to stay? I actually want Bruno to stay for Kobbie's benefit, whereas nobody sees it that way. Everyone thinks Bruno needs to leave to benefit Kobbie. Do you understand? I want Bruno to stay until Kobbie beats him. Why would I want to take that competition away from a young, talented kid and make it easy? Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan because he had to play against his older brother every day, who used to beat him up every day until Michael finally started beating him. Do you get where I'm coming from? That's what greatness does. Greatness needs challenges to become greater. That's where I come from. That's how I see it. Now, everybody doesn't see it that way, and they think I hate Kobbie. I literally have gotten comments that say, you hate Kobbie. I'm like, it's the exact opposite.
Well, so I'll just give my a quick comparison, and I'll let Rishi land with this one, because I'm pretty sure we're on the same page with this. Let me take you guys. First of all, guys, whoever's watching, please drop a like on the stream. You know, a lot of people have been calling for this collab. The least you can do is drop a like on the stream. And Simix is doing great stuff here, so happy to be here today and talk to him as well. But let me take you guys back to a young Portuguese winger that we purchased from Sporting, right? And his name is Cristiano Ronaldo. And when he first came to United, he was a bag of tricks. He wanted to do elasticos for days, and he had all the physical and technical talent, but he didn't have the end product, right? And what happened? He came into a team where he had lots of competition. He had so much competition, he wasn't getting game time, and he also had the hunger to go alongside with that competition, and he kept on improving himself and kept on trying to become better. So the reason why he has such a soft spot for Sir Alex Ferguson and all the United players that played with him despite him winning all the things that he did and becoming the made man that he became at Real Madrid, is because United pushed him to become better. United pushed him to that level where he could go win the Ballon d'Or and pushed him to become the player that he became at Real Madrid, and the legend that he is today, the GOAT status that he has today. So Kobbie Mainoo needs to look at himself in the mirror and think, do I just want to be good enough to get into this team so I can go play in the Euros? Or do I want to be one of the best Premier League midfielders of all time? Right? And that's the attitude that he needs to have, in my opinion, because I see way too many players these days, man. They just want everything so easy. Even their first contract at like age 16 will give them like, £10,000 a week or something, which is crazy money, right? Like none of us, like not many people make that kind of money. So you have the security for the rest of your life. You have the security for your family members. What I would question Semix is like, is he getting the right types of people speaking to him every day? Right? Is he getting these messages that you and I are talking about that Rishi, I'm sure, agrees with as well? And that's the concern I have. But let's see what Rishi has to say as well.
Well, there's so many examples of so many examples of really talented young kids at United who started off bright but didn't really add much to their game. Rashford and Garnacho, two big names that I can think of right now. What happens is for a lot of players, right, once they start playing, they feel they're good enough for that stage and they don't add much to their game. And fans of Kobbie, right, I'm sorry to say this, I love the kid, he's an academy product, but since that first burst of games that he got in the 23-24 season, just before he went to the Euros, from then I haven't seen him add much to his game. Defensively, he still lacks a lot, I feel. His one good asset is carrying the ball, which he's pretty decent at. But if I look at the output that Bruno gives and I compare that with Kobbie, it's nowhere at the same level. And also, unfortunately, what happens when you buy your own hype, which young kids do these days because they're surrounded by social media, and now, even 13-year-old kids have agents. There are people advising them, sitting with their parents and telling them. I'm sure, Semix, as a coach, you've seen this yourself. There are young kids and agents, hounding them and talking to the parents. Look at within your own country, look at what's happened to Gio Reyna, a young kid who had talent, but his coach, tried to knock him down a peg. He didn't take it well. I mean, his family kicked up a whole fuss and, made it a media sensation, right? And Dortmund seems to be like a hotbed of these activities because they keep attracting this kind of talent. Look at what's happening with the younger Bellingham, uh, Job
Joe,
Bellingham.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Someone at 19 feels that, he's got girls hitting him up in his DMs. He's got an agent who's buying him expensive gifts. He's got people making comparison clips of him with his brother at the same age and saying that this one's going to be a bigger monster. His dad is gassing him up big time. His mom, I've heard, is also quite strong-headed and has her own like influence on things. So these things can affect you. And with Rashford, like it's not a secret anymore. He didn't surround himself with the right people, like the crew that he surrounds himself with, the people who manage his career and his life. They don't give him the right kind of feedback. So I think this is a very big issue that needs to be handled by the club because what's happening is the clubs have kind of given away the power. I remember a time when Sir Alex would fake an injury so that a player didn't go on a meaningless international friendly, right? And the players would agree because they felt, yeah, this is more important for me. Paul
Yeah,
Scholes
that's not
played
going to
like
happen
six.
anymore. That won't happen
And
Yeah,
anymore.
Luke Shaw did the
yeah,
opposite, by the way. He went and got
Yeah,
injured for
he,
England. So
yeah, he
yeah,
faked an injury so he doesn't play for us, so he can go play in England.
right. So yeah, like this whole situation is so messed up that I think I'm not worried about Kobbie. I think as a United fan, I've not been player FC for the longest time since these players started showing their true colors. You got to think about this. If a kid who came up from the academy, who was surrounded by all these legends and dazzled by the trophies in the trophy cabinet, if he comes out and behaves like Rashford and Garnacho did, then why should you care so much about the academy products, right? Care about the club. Challenge this kid to prove that he's worthy of wearing that shirt and bring the aura back to the club. That's what I'm at.
I'll tell you, like, the way I think about it is Bruno Fernandes is saying he didn't go to a top European club because they didn't put big money on the table for the club, which is completely the opposite of what Marcus Rashford did. And Marcus Rashford is the academy product, right? Marcus Rashford said, I don't care if you don't get paid a single dollar. I want to go to Barcelona, even if I'm going for free.
Let's not forget Garnacho as well.
Yeah, Garnacho is not really an academy product, though, right?
Well,
but
we sold him for, like, we got pure profit from him because he did come into our youth system, not the first team.
Yeah, but Marcus has been with us since he was 5.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you would want that from Marcus, right? Because he always talks about how much he loves our club, but he didn't care if the club made any money at all, right? All he cared about was, well, if I'm leaving, I'm going to that club and that club only. Whereas Bruno's saying, I wasn't willing to leave unless somebody paid Manchester United big money. Well, you take that, and then you also look at Kobbie, and you have to, like, I want these players to struggle. I want Kobbie to stay. I don't want him to leave, but I want him to make it through this fire. You know what I mean? I want it to be a hard challenge, and I want him to win. That's what I'm going for. I don't want to make it easy for him. I don't want to gas him up. I want to say it like it is, and then I want him to deal with it. Because he's going to come out the other side and be better than Jude Bellingham. If he's not, then he's not good enough for us anyway. So the only way to find out if someone's going to be good enough, and guys, good enough has to change. Because good enough the last 10 years hasn't been good enough.
Also, just to quickly add there, Samix, if Casemiro is one of the most criticized midfielders in the Premier League for the last 2 seasons. He had the first season that he was here, he was really good, and we finished, I guess, 3rd under Ten Hag, right? Since then, he has been so criticized. Let's not forget Jamie Carragher asking him to leave the football before the football leaves him, right? Because that guy knows what football is about. And we're sitting here and saying that Mainoo is so good that he should play ahead of Bruno. He can't even get ahead of Casemiro right now, who apparently has no legs. And we would all agree there's plenty of criticism to go towards Casemiro, more towards his physicality than anything else. But if he can't get ahead of Casemiro, then what's the point of getting into the Euro squad? Because you're not going to play in front of Elliot Anderson. You're not going to play in front of Declan Rice or Cole Palmer or Jude Bellingham. So you're just trying to make the England squad, and that's why you want to play in the United team, but you're not even good enough to get ahead of Casemiro. So it doesn't really make sense to me.
Even with that, I mean, and you're right, you're 100% right. But like, even with that said, I honestly don't give 2 bad words about any of our players getting in their national team. I don't care.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that's his motivation,
fan,
right?
And I don't care. Yeah. Like, I don't. Yeah, but here's the thing: if I was the manager, I would sit with him and I would go, I don't care. And honestly, I am a manager. And I have these conversations, and when people say things that don't affect what I'm managing, I say exactly what I just told you. I look at them and I go, I don't care. That's something you care about. And if you want to achieve that goal, well, then you got to win here. You know what I mean? If you win here, you'll get closer to achieving that goal. I'm not going to help you achieve that goal because I don't care about that goal. Does that make sense? But it's still like a personal thing for them, and that's how it should stay. And they should know
even
that
from a motivational perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry, even from a motivational perspective, if you're trying to say, fine, that is your personal goal, right? Playing in the England team, the way you get there is by becoming better in this team, right? So if you want to care about that, that's fine. But this is the way you do it, and that's why you have to listen to everything I'm saying. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, and I would be super harsh about it, but like that's the thing. Like, the more talented the player, the harsher I would be, because like I said, like, they need bigger challenges. Like, what's the point of challenging Messi to make 5 penalty kicks? He's gonna make them. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for Messi, I would put 3 defenders and say you got to dribble past all 3 and then shoot, or else he's not gonna get any better, right? His challenge has to be harder than the other player who's not that good. Like PK, I would be like, okay, go make 5 penalties in a row. And if he does, everybody applauds. But for Messi to make 5 penalties is nothing. Do you see what I'm like? The challenge has to equal the talent and actually be a little bit harder than what that talented kid can do so he could get better. And that's his challenge. Beat Bruno, beat Casemiro. Anyway, I think we've talked about this one for a little bit longer than I planned to, so I want to roll into the next topic. And I wanted Andy specifically on this show to talk about this because I like the way Andy looks at stats and breaks down games too. And that's something I do all the time. I want to talk to you about the long ball narrative because I feel like the narrative has changed from Ruben's system doesn't work. Ruben Amorim is not a good manager and he's in over his head, to Ruben Amorim uses nothing but long balls and that's how we're winning. Because I even get comments now on my videos about, so this is why I don't want Ruben Amorim and I want him out because I don't like long balls. So I want to hear what you think before I tell you what I think.
Sorry,
yeah, it's hard.
Just so you guys know, Semix didn't share any of these questions with us before the call.
I don't do that.
Yeah, so this is very interesting, and I have like a tactics board. I could pull it up and just kind of talk through it if you want, or I could just do it without it. Up to you. But I think for me, again, I said something earlier. It's easy to hate on something you don't understand, right? And I feel like that is the whole crux of this system doesn't work at United thing. People don't understand how the 3 at the back works, even a standard 3 at the back. When Conte came and did it, people thought he was a wizard that was delivering some sort of, magic gift or something, right? Nobody really understood Conte's system. They didn't really understand it when Tuchel did it either. And I feel like it's the same with Amorim. And obviously, each 3 at the back is not the same as the other because system and philosophy is different than formation. And with Ruben Amorim, the interesting thing for me is that his system relies on verticality more than anything else, right? So he is trying as quickly as possible to get the ball from, let's say, goalkeeper or center back into the forward line, and then have the wing backs and the 10s run beyond the striker, let's say, right? Or if the 10 is the one that's the target man in that scenario, then the striker runs in behind. So essentially the front 5, if you will, the wing backs, the 2 10s, and the striker, they all need to be a little bit pacey. They all need to be a little bit technical. And the 9 more than anybody needs to be like a decent target man, right? So that's why we've gone and spent big money on Šeško, who's a great target man, and for 6'5" has better feet and better close control than even Haaland, right? And so this long ball narrative comes from, let's say, a similar philosophy to the verticality, because how do you get the ball up the pitch the quickest? It's by kicking a long kick, right, from the goal kick. And I feel like that's what Ruben Amorim is trying to do. And specifically in the Liverpool game, because, in the big games is what people tend to watch more than other games. So the rest of the teams and our rivals and everybody else has probably watched that game more than the game against Sunderland. People have caught on to that because Liverpool are particularly a team that gets hurt the most by long balls because you bypass their high press, right? And that's why Slot was so butthurt in the media after the game. And that's why Jamie Carragher was so butthurt. I posted a video last night talking about the bias from Carragher's side. And they, they had that massive chart of Lomans kicking it long everywhere. And now, some people, the understanding of this whole system and the long kicks is so low, Semix, that people are like, oh, Lomans pass accuracy isn't very good. Guys, it's clearly a strategy to lose the ball on purpose so that you win the second duel, right? That's what he's trying to do. And again, it comes with wanting to move the ball up the pitch as quickly as possible. And that is also the same reason we have one of the highest volume of shots in the league. I haven't checked it after the Liverpool game, but before that, we were like, top 3 for the whole season. That's also the reason we were top of the league for XG, because we keep getting the ball to the penalty box as fast as possible. And that doesn't allow the teams to settle down, doesn't allow defensive structures to establish, and gives us a better chance of creating something that is dangerous for the opposition.
Yeah. So I made videos before Amarim joined, and one of them's called Amarim's Tactics, or breaking down Amarim's Tactics from my earlier videos. And I showed the patterns that he uses, and I told everybody in that video there are 3 things that Amarim's system has a lot of: diamonds, triangles, and short passes, long balls from center backs and goalkeepers to strikers, and a ton of crosses and cutback passes. It's, for me, it's 50% short patterns to suck players in, and then it's long balls to spread them out. He literally plays opposing shapes like an accordion. He goes, let's stretch you out, let's suck you in. Let's stretch you out, let's suck you in. Let's move you to the left, we're going to switch to the right. Let's move you to the right, and then we're going to switch to the left. It's why I like it so much, because it's not the same. Look, Pep is trying to figure out what his next evolution of his system is. Pep's for the last 3 years hasn't been able to crack the code on what the next evolution of his system is. He went with the big guy, Holland, and that to me was a sign that Pep was starting to change, because he didn't like big guys before. He didn't like Zlatan. He didn't want a bigger target kind of guy. He wanted a false 9 who can come into midfield and create those numbers advantages in positional play. And then it turned into, I don't care what you do, we're going to man-to-man press you. And Pep started struggling. So then he went, okay, well, if they're going to man-to-man press all over the field, I need to have one powerful outlet that it doesn't matter that if he's always covered, he's going to be powerful, he's good in the box, and he's that guy, which is Erling Haaland, right? But he still hasn't figured out how to make it work. And now his wingers didn't get used as much before, and now his wingers are like his only outlet, and he's suffering because of it. Like, he wants the game central, and the game central is really hard these days. I mean, who's Newcastle's manager? I forget his name. I'm really bad
Eddie
with
Howe. Eddie Howe.
There's a lot of managers like Eddie Howe, like the Brighton manager, Hewler. I'm really bad with names.
Herzler.
These guys are examples of people who go, we're going to clog up the midfield, and you're going to have to figure out a different way to beat us. It's the same thing Arteta does too, in a way. And that you can't really do against Amarim, because he's got no problem switching to the wing backs, and the wing back has a 10 right in front of him. And if they have any kind of chemistry like Mbeumo and Ahmad, they're going to kill you up the wing anyway. That's where he wants the ball anyway. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's also a lot of the inside spaces, right? Because if you look at Amarim's record, what is the big game that everybody watched before he came to United? It's the 4-1 defeat of Sporting to Man City in the Champions League, right? And if you look at this season as well, the teams that we've done well against, like Chelsea, they play a 4 at the back, right? And they're a team that wants to have the ball and, kind of imprint their system onto ours. Even Liverpool, 4 at the back system. What the 3 at the back, or the 3-4-3, Amarim 3-4-3 does really well is the wingers and the wingbacks, right? Sorry, the 10s and the wingbacks. They provide such a threat for your fullback and the center back on that side.
The opposing team center back.
Yeah, the opposing team center back is that because the 10, like Mbeumo, is always between Kirkez and Van Dijk. And he can also switch from being between those two guys to now being between Van Dijk and Konate. So he's exploiting the inside spaces between the back line or even the midfield, and trying to pull people out of position where they don't want to be, right? And consistently that keeps happening. And there's the 1-2. You don't know if it's going to be Ahmad that makes the pass to Mbeumo running in behind, or if it's going to be Mbeumo making the pass to Ahmad running in behind. So you're constantly, trading off that battle. And the reason why we do better against the bigger teams and we haven't yet cracked it against the smaller teams is because the bigger teams are more likely to have their wingers up and not helping the fullback, right? Whereas a Crystal Palace, or maybe Crystal Palace is a bad example, but maybe a Bournemouth, right? Somebody that plays a four at the back, but a smaller team.
We could talk about Brighton because they're about to come up tomorrow.
Well, yeah, Brighton too. Yeah, Brighton too. They're happy to have their wingers tracking back. So now Mbeumo and Ahmad have two players to play against, or three players if you count the center back. Right.
Yeah, something we did really well against Liverpool, just to complete your point there, is that whenever Kirk has stepped forward to get to Ahmad, Mbeumo would drag Van Dijk out to zone 18, which is, the corner flag.
Yeah.
Mbeumo would make that diagonal run, and we created a lot of chances with that exact same routine. Ahmad brings Kirkez out, Mbeumo takes Van Dijk to the corner flag, and then Cunha and Mount have Konate to deal with, and that's it. It's a part of the tactical breakdown video I was making, and then I got the flu last week, so I wasn't able to post it. So what I'm going to do, by the way, to anybody watching this who's wondering why I didn't do a tactical video for that game, it's coming. I want to do the Brighton game and the Liverpool game in one video, so it should be a really cool video. So sorry, guys, I got sick. I couldn't do the video, but everything's ready to go. Now that it's so late and the Brighton game is tomorrow, there's no point in me posting it. Let's have the Brighton game, and then I'll mix those two together, and I'll show you the similarities or differences depending on what happens in tomorrow's game. Sorry. But anyway, you're right, 100%. The system makes the opposing players have to play out of position, and they don't like that. I mean, Van Dijk was having a horrible day. He was not used to playing in these areas.
His worst game I've seen in a long time, and that's saying something.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's definitely huge. Rishi, any ideas?
So just on Amorim as a manager, I think people have just got this incorrect idea that a manager is supposed to have one system and he's supposed to champion that system or that formation. I think a manager is supposed to be like a technician who has enough tools in his toolkit that he can figure out any sort of situation, right?
Hold on. Hold on. Sorry to cut you off. But because you said that, what do you say to the argument that people say that Amorim doesn't have a bunch of tools? He only has the 3-4-3. So how do you? Because what you just said there, a lot of people could comment and say, "Well, you're proving my point." Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's the other thing I wanted to highlight. Recently, Michael Owen came out and said something. He said that all this talk about Amorim's formation is bullshit because the formation doesn't matter. It's how they play with the ball and how they play without the ball. And when Michael Owen says something, the guy that says that if you're wet, it's probably raining. A guy who makes obvious statements exclusively. If he's saying something, it means it's very obvious. Mourinho said something a while back. He said that formations are transitional, as in formations are in and out of vogue, but principles of play always remain the same. Stay compact without the ball and expand the game with the ball. So this whole narrative that he only has long balls, first of all, I see this a lot in Andy's comment section. People say that, you guys are parking the bus, you guys are playing a low block. No. If you say we are hoofing the ball and we want to win the second ball, by the very definition of that, we are in the middle of the pitch. If anything, it's a mid block. It's not a low block. And how is it a crime to park your centre backs in the middle of the pitch? Do you want us in the opposition's penalty box? Well, we did get a centre back in the opposition's penalty box, Harry freaking Maguire, and he scored a damn goal. Now you tell me a team like United that has suffered at Anfield 18 goals to 2 goals, I think, in the last 5 years, right? 83rd minute of the game, it's 1-1. You would expect a low block, park the bus team to have everyone behind and defend for their lives, right? But we go for the win. Now, who does that? I'll tell you what, Ruben Amorim does that. Bruno Fernandes does that. Harry Maguire does that.
My biggest beef with this long ball narrative is like, Did we all forget one game ago? Like literally, it was only one game ago we had 18 passes that led to a goal. One game ago, 18. A long ball team doesn't have 18 passes before a goal. Do you understand? Like you can't have, you can't in one vein say, "Oh, they're just a long ball team." Oh, by the way, we scored a goal after 18 passes less than 3 weeks ago. Like it people have to open up their minds. Stop with the it's a 3-4-3. It's actually not a 3-4-3. It's a 3-4-3 sometimes. It's a 5-4-1 sometimes. It's a
4-4-2 sometimes.
4-2-3-1 sometimes. It's
Yeah.
a 4-3-3 sometimes. It's a 4-4-2 sometimes. Like it literally is almost every formation it could possibly be. And people just go, yeah, but there's 3 center backs. There are 3 center backs that 2 of them can run and pass. Like they're not 3 Van Dykes. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make it's not Van Dyke and Konate and another Van Dyke. It's a Luke Shaw who used to be a fullback. It's a Lenny Yoro who can actually carry the ball. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. It's weird to me. I don't understand it. Like we recruited Aiden Heaven. That should have been a big clue for everybody. We didn't recruit a Van Dyke type. We recruited a young left center back who can carry and pass. You're not doing that if you're looking for 3 traditional center backs.
Also, if I may, Semix, I feel like people have this judging the book by the cover problem a lot, right? Because they seem to think, oh, Klopp's team only did gegenpressing and only played this amazing football. Guys, what was Trent Alexander-Arnold's main talent? It was long balls. He played long ball. He switched the play to Mane on the other side.
It was David Beckham's main talent.
Exactly, it was David Beckham's main talent too. And we weren't accusing Liverpool of ever playing long ball, hoofball FC, were we? And even Arsenal now, they are essentially the best of like Stoke City and also the best of like the possession football, because they're really good at set pieces and they can also play on the ground when they need to, right? So every team will at some times play tiki-taka football, at some times play counter-attacking football, and at some times try to control the ball, right? Because even if you look at Bournemouth is a 40% possession counter-attacking team. But if they come up against Brighton, they're going to have 50-50 possession, right? So even Bournemouth in certain games needs to know how to play possession football, even though their main philosophy is playing counter-attacking football. So we need to stop thinking about Amram as, only long ball FC or park the bus FC, or just because he's Portuguese he's the new Mourinho. Like that's just ridiculous.
He's literally a little bit of everything FC. If you want to like actually be honest, he's literally a little bit of everything FC.
Yeah.
And that's that. Like that's it. And if you can't handle that, here's the problem though. I can't blame people, because the main media, and this brings me back to Footy With An Edge. Footy With An Edge, the reason why I started watching you is obviously Rishi got informed me of the video, and I watched your video, and I was blown away at how you kept debunking stat after stat after stat, narrative after narrative. And the people you're talking about are these really respected outlets. And I can't blame the common fan who doesn't have time to dive deep into stats, right? Like I made a comparison on one of my shows where I said, most people aren't going to sit down and do math. They're going to pick up a calculator and get the answer right away. Most of us have jobs, and in the morning after a game, we're going to listen to YouTube or whatever while we're working our jobs, or while we're driving to our jobs, or while we're living our day. And whatever those guys say, you're going to probably believe, because you don't have time to check it yourself, fact check it. So I don't get mad at people. I try not to. I shouldn't say I don't, because I'm not a patient guy. But I try not to get mad at people because I say it's not your fault. That's just bad information and bad data you've been getting from people you trust. And now we're seeing pundits. I honestly, and I posted this on X, so I'm not going to say his name, but if you want to know who it is, all you got to do is go to my X account and you'll see a video of exactly what I'm talking about. This guy literally apologized to Ruben Amorim on camera and said, "I will never doubt you again," or something like that, or "I'm sorry for doubting you." And I'm guaranteeing you, if we lose tomorrow, it's going to be a completely different narrative next week. You get what I'm saying? And it drives me nuts. So my question to you is, how long do we give these YouTubers, pundits who honestly don't know what they're talking about or flagrantly change the narrative to fit their needs? And their needs might be more clicks, more views, more money, or their needs might be, I hate Manchester United since I was a child, so I'm not going to say anything positive about them no matter what. Those are your only options as far as I'm concerned. Your options are they don't know what they're talking about, they're doing it on purpose, or they hate Manchester United so much that they can't see past their own biases. There is no other option. And all three of those are dangerous. Does that make this is how like bad information is how wars get started. How long before guys like you call them out? Because I saw what happened to you. I saw how they kept taking down your video on Reddit. I saw how people literally commented so in support of bad information, saying that, well, to be honest, it's not the presenter's fault. There's a data guy who gave them bad data, so it's not the presenter's fault. Guys, I don't know about you, but I don't go on this show and say things as if I know what I'm talking about without at least looking it up and making sure that I've got it right. And if I don't know for sure, then I tell my audience, I'm not positive, but here's what it seems like to me. Because I feel responsible for whatever comes out of my mouth. Does that make sense?
No, for sure. And you're talking about a duty of care, right? Like you need to have a standard for yourself when you have a public opinion. And we don't have contracts with Sky, we don't have contracts with BT or CBS, and we're trying to make some money from this. We're also trying to get the voice out there and hold people accountable. So if someone like me, with the subscribers that I have, or Semix as well, and Rishi, who's just my brother, he's just supporting me. If we can have a higher standard for ourselves than somebody who's on national media, Jamie Carragher's at least getting $1 million a year. So does Gary Neville from these, for all the work they do for Sky. Like you guys got to do better. And I would say the same thing with the Athletic. I don't think they're, millionaires or whatever, but you're still getting paid. It's still a job. And you need to do better than you are doing right now. And the problem is, right, and we covered this in our podcast on our channel. There is a mental health aspect to this, right, Semix? Because you seems like you work in football, and you've also been a football.
I don't work in football. I do want to make that clear. Did I used to work in football? Yeah, I worked. I did marketing for a club in Costa Rica, actually, and I also assistant coached at the high school level. So nothing big.
Cool.
In football.
But you work in sports.
Different sports. Yeah.
Yeah. You work in sports, and you've obviously been a football fan for, decent amount of time.
All my life.
So you understand. Yeah. You understand as well as I do. Like the 7-0 weekend where we lost 7-0 at Anfield, I was just having a horrible time after that. It just ruins your day. Right. And then all the content you're consuming is all the Liverpool fans taking the piss as if they scored all the 7 goals themselves. Right. And so if you have that situation and somebody then coming out with credibility, coming and telling you like, hey, not only did you lose 7-0, but your team is the worst team since football was invented, right? You're sitting there thinking, man, like, what am I going to do with my life? Like next weekend, do I watch this team? Do I go now find another sport? Like how much abuse do I need to take from my friends that are Liverpool fans and Tottenham fans and all of them, just making fun of me for supporting the club that I had nothing to do with. Like I started supporting the club when I was 10 because Rishi got into it when he was 15, right? So are we to blame that Ruud van Nistelrooy was banging in goals in 2004? I don't think so. And so I just started supporting United. And so it's very important, man. I feel like Athletic, even Jamie Carragher, like I just can't get his smug look off my, out of my head because he's always pretending like he cares about United and pretending like he's saying the things he does for good reasons and United fans should believe him. But he's a snake oil salesman of the highest level. And we need to be careful about what we consume in terms of media.
I honestly started this channel and I was motivated by anger. That's that's how my channel started. My channel started because I was like, I am so sick of this. Like no one knows what they're talking about or they're flip-flopping every day. So it's like when the weather's nice, they're a certain way, and when the weather's bad, they're a certain different way. And it drove me mad because I thought it wasn't good for my own mental health because I like consuming these things. I like watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, reading articles. I like it. And it was driving me crazy. I'm like, I'm running out of things I like to do. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how this channel actually got started. Was I was like, all right, that's it. Like, I'm starting my own channel and see what happens. I thought 5 people would listen to me,
Same reason here, by the way. Me and Rishi actually started Footy With An Edge together because we kept consuming the fan channel content, right? And listen, there's a lower duty of care expected from fan channels because we're passionate and it's a lot of like, oh, we won today, so give everybody a lifetime contract, and we lost today, sell everybody, start again, right? And there's that type of feeling. But I got sick of it because it was like, well, you keep telling me that Luke Shaw is crap. Well, tell me why, right? Like, what is he doing wrong? And what's the reason behind it, right? Because it was a lot of just surface level, like, oh, he had a good game today. He really got stuck in, covered every blade of grass. Okay, those are just metaphors. Like, I'm not really understanding why they were good or why they were bad. So for me, it was like I was done with just the frustration for frustration's sake, and I wanted to see beyond the surface. And seems like that was exactly what led you to this as well.
Yeah. So last topic of the day, and the thing I think everybody's here to hear us talk about, tomorrow's game. And I want to start with Rishi on this one. Rishi, who do you want to see starting and why? And I'm asking a very vague question because I don't know how much you know about Brighton and how they play. I just want to leave it as an open floor and talk about tomorrow's game in any way you like, from any angle you like, and let us know what what you want to see or what you're thinking about tomorrow's game.
So I think one thing has been clear for me that Brighton are brilliant in the air. They defend their box beautifully. I don't think there's much scope for Sesko there. Sheshko, sorry. You're most probably going to see Mount. I heard that he's touch and go for tomorrow's game, but I think Mount is a fighter. He'll make it. I think Mount's going to play false nine, Cunha in the left 10, and Mbumo in the right 10. We already know the midfield, so there's no point discussing it any further. I think he's going to go with Dalot because he wants a little bit of solidity. Dorgu's still young. Uh, I think as a manager, Amorim likes to protect the young players. He's seen Dorgu get exposed high up the pitch when he's lost the ball high up the pitch. He's like 15, 20 yards behind the ball. When he loses the ball, he can't track back fast enough. Dorgu gives him a little bit of experience, and Dalot gives him a little bit of experience. And uh, for better or for worse, no matter how he performed in the first half, Dalot basically managed to hold his own by the end of the game. Right? He managed to get through the cauldron that is Anfield. So I think playing at home, he's going to have Dalot starting on the left. The right hand side is going to see Mbumo and Ahmad linking up because Ahmad is amazing at pressing high up the pitch, winning the ball high up. Kadiolu on the left hand side of their defense is someone I think can be got at because he's more like a jack of all trades. He's played like 10 positions on the pitch other than goalie and striker. He had a long injury layoff last season. I think Van Hecke and Dunk, they like to play these line breaking passes uh, from the box or just outside the box. So Mount is going to be super important for that reason because he's really good at manning the press. He leads the press and he coordinates very well. He's got his eye out on each side. He scans it very well. That's the reason why Mount is such a frustrating player with his injuries. But every manager that has come in just absolutely loves him because he's great at following instructions. He doesn't have an ego of his own. He just does what is told. So yeah, for me, I guess the key is that you don't play to Brighton's strengths. You don't have in high crosses because Van Hecke and Dunk are both in the 99th percentile for defending crosses in the box. Uh, you have someone that can press with energy, and that's all I can say because I can only predict the midfield and the attack because I don't know who's going to play in defense. I don't know if Maguire is going to play. The logical mind says that Euro and Delic should start, but Maguire's proven himself. He's proven to be that kind of a general and leader. So maybe that's what Amarim will go for.
Andy?
Yeah. I disagree with Rishi on many points.
That's why we got
because-
brothers on the show.
Yeah. Starting with, I don't like his face. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'll
we
say,
have the same face.
Yeah, that's the point, guys. That's the point. That it was a little bit of self-deprecating humor and brother-deprecating humor. But I'll say, in my opinion, we're gonna play against a combination of a low block and a mid block, right? Because when as in not us, I meant like Brighton's going to be deploying a low block or a mid block. When they played against Man City, and I rewatched that whole game, they were mostly in a low block because City is so much better in terms of keeping the ball. They're neat with their feet and they don't make mistakes and give the ball away. So they were good at pushing Brighton deeper and deeper back in their own half. Whereas we can be got at, right? When we have the ball at the touchline. Speaking of Man City, we had 3 center backs in their half and we lost a counter-attacking goal for 3-0. So we can be got at. So I think they're going to play a combination of a low block and a mid block. I think there's pros and cons to having Mateus Cunha playing. There's also pros and cons to having Šeško playing. If we're going to see more of a low block, which is possible because we're playing at home, and this season we've had, I think 54% is our average across the 4 games in terms of possession. But that average has got down a lot because of the Chelsea game where we had the red card and we played with basically like no possession in the second half, right? So it's more closer to 60% possession average this season. And in my opinion, it's going to be a low block. And what do you need in a low block to break a low block down? You need a reference point. And so Šeško is going to offer us that by being inside the box. He's going to offer us an ability to put in crosses. And that's the other reason I disagree with Rishi, which I want Dorgu to start on the left, right? Dorgu is a left footer. He has shown he has the technical ability to get the early cross right. His decision-making is suspect, but if he's not going to learn in this game, like when are we going to put him in, right? Because he's 20 years old. I want to see some of that. He's kind of the future. He has the profile of an Amarim wingback. So those are the 2 things I initially disagreed with. I think Mount should start, but if he's not fit, then I have a different opinion on Dorgu, because the reason I really like Dorgu with Mount there is we don't have any pace in behind on the left-hand side when Mount starts. Whereas now, if we have a long kick towards Mount or we pass it short to Shaw and he plays it forward to Mount, we have somebody to run in behind with Dorgu, right? If Mount is injured and Mount doesn't start and we have to play Cunha on the left hand, then I think Dalot makes a little bit more sense because we get a bit more defensive solidity. He can come into midfield, whereas Dorgu, I don't think he has that tactical nous yet as a 20-year-old player. And in defense, I called it before the Brentford game. I said Euro must start over Maguire, and he didn't start him because I essentially said we have 2 threats in the Brentford game. One was the long balls, long ball, like set pieces and long throws, which Maguire is good at defending against. And the other one was the counterattack, which Euro is better at defending against. And so I asked for Euro to start and Maguire to come on at the end. He started Maguire. We got 2 counterattacking goals against us, and then I think they also score from a long throw. I forget, but I essentially have the same concerns I did as the Brentford game against Brighton, because they're going to do the same thing against us. They have the same 2 threats, not necessarily as much long throws, but the set pieces they're good at. Yeah, so that's my idea. I think it should be Euro in the back line. I think it should be Dorgu as left wing back and Šeško to start as striker.
Semix, you're the judge and jury now. You have to say which one of us is right. And if Andy's wrong, then he has to hand over the
Why does
channel
it
to
have
me
to be
after
like
the
that?
game
That
tomorrow.
feels like I have to say something negative about one of the
No,
guests.
he's going to disagree with both of us.
No, there's a lot of good points brought up. My problem is with Diogo Dalot. My problem is with the fact that he can't settle a ball. And I feel like we lose a lot of opportunities up the left side because of it. And we become a one-sided team in possession, obviously. And then about the Mason Mount Benjamin Šeško predicament. I feel like this is a Šeško game. I feel like this is a game, and I'll explain it why a little bit differently than how you guys explained it. Even though I like Rishi's explanation of Mason Mount is going to be important, because a lot of Brighton's attacks come with line breaking passes, and that is very true. Brighton's goals either come from counterattacks because of one of those passes, or they come from one of their wingers who are pretty good on the ball. My problem is this. Because they're going to be in a mid block and a low block, we're going to have high possession in this game. We will be averaging over 60% possession in this game, which means we're going to build out of our triangles and diamonds. And we need Šeško to be the outlet outside of that pattern. We always have an outlet of a bigger guy who needs to play with his back to goal and hold up the ball, even though we're not being pressed. Because when we're being pressed, we're going to go long. But when we don't go, like people think, well, if you're not going long, then you don't need a guy to play with his back to goal. But actually, that's not how this system works. This system works with a triangle or a diamond on one side of the field, and then a Šeško or an Mbumo like receiving with his back to goal and then involving players. I think that's why Šeško plays. I think Šeško plays because we're going to have a lot of the ball, and we're going to need someone who can body up against those big center backs they have. Because we're not going to go long as much as we did against Liverpool. Nowhere near as much. We had 59 long balls against Liverpool. I guarantee you we will have less than 25 in this game.
Well, at least it won't be the same way. It'll be accurate long balls, right? Lawmans might kick it out to the
zone 18
back.
and 16.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think one more thing I want to get your thoughts on, Semix, because you mentioned something very interesting about Amorim's system at Sporting, right? You had covered it before he came to United. One thing you said that we haven't seen much of with Amorim's United is the crosses into the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think this is a good game with Šeško also playing for us to start seeing some of that? Because I think, a lot of the players were just trying to figure out how to make this work. And do you think that starts now?
I don't think Amorim's instructions is don't cross. I think Amorim wants the crosses. I think the players make one or two bad crosses and stop crossing. And that I see that in any sport. Like when a player can't do the assignment after they fail 2 or 3 times, they abandon the assignment. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that as long as you see Mbumo or Bruno when he comes late and then they pass it back to him and he hits that first time cross, that's why you're seeing that first time cross. And against 2 weeks ago against Sunderland, Mount scored from a cross from Mbumo. The first goal was Mbumo crossing the Mount.
Yeah, Mount. He cut inside and put in the cross.
Yeah, the cross is still a big part of the tactics, but what happens is Dalot hits 2 crosses out in row 18 behind the goal, for a lucky fan to touch a ball, and then he stops crossing. Or at least we all hope he stops crossing, because then his next one goes to row 22, and you're like, how did it go even worse than the first one? Like, I think that's what it is. I don't think that he wants the team to stop crossing. He wants a. I've seen Lenny Yoro send crosses in
But De Ligt
preseason,
did it as well. De Ligt did it in
and
the
De
Grimsby
Ligt
game.
and Maguire sent a cross in last season when they started making memes with Maguire and the Ronaldinho mixture. Maguire,
the AI
Dino,
stuff,
whatever.
yeah, with his face on it, yeah.
Yeah. And that was because Maguire dribbled out on the wing and then sent a cross in for a goal. I think it was in the tail end of last season. But the Ligt this season has sent in a cross. I've seen Euro send in crosses. Yeah, we still want to cross. So if your question is why haven't we done it like they used to do it in Sporting average when Amram was there the last season he was there, they averaged over 16 crosses a game, and they had plenty of games where they had 20 crosses or more. So it is a part of the system. It's supposed to be happening. But like I said, I think Dorgu sends in a bad cross, or Dalot sends in 2 bad crosses. I've even seen Ahmad send in a bad cross, and then they just stop doing it. And they rely on what they know what to do, which is they think they're all dribblers and carriers. Now, in Ahmad's case, he actually is, but the other 2 are not. And you need those crosses mostly from your wingbacks.
I think in this season, we've also seen us carrying the ball into the opposition's box a lot more than we've done under the last 3 managers.
Yes, and what he wants from there is someone to get it as low as humanly possible and then cut it back. Yeah. And I'm waiting to see more of that. I've seen the carry into the box, but then I've seen too many cuts to the inside instead of keep going down and cut it back with a pass. Right. We're becoming too predictable with Ahmad's becoming a little bit, and I love this kid. So I hate when I judge someone and everybody thinks I hate the person. No. I'm just saying I want 1 or 2. Let's say he carries the ball in the box 4 times a game. I want 2 of those to be a cut inside onto his left, and I want 2 of those to be keep going down on your right and cut it back, so that your defender doesn't know what's coming next. I don't want all of them to be cuts inside to your left. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to his credit, I think I've seen Dorgu also do it quite a bit, like carrying the ball into the box. He's in the 93rd or 94th percentile for defenders who carry the ball into the box. So I see a lot of promise here, and credit to you, Semix. You've been calling it out too. You've seen what's underlying. The performances are about to catch up, and they're just about starting. And just kind of circling back to a few of the conversations we've had today, everyone is just so reactive these days. They are not willing to see what's happening in the background or what's happening on the pitch, but is not yet materializing on the score sheet.
They're reacting to the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just people, like you said, it's these pundits who are paid a lot of money, who have the same knowledge and the access to the same things. Like, it's not rocket science, right? You guys are putting out this amazing content with a computer and like basic to a little intermediate knowledge of the game. So it's just like, what do you want to do, right? Like you, Samix and Andy, you guys want to reach the truth. You want to understand your team better. That's your motive. What is Carragher's motive? What is Sky Sports' motive? Right?
Also, I just wanna. I don't wanna like call out or specific people, but I see a comment from BCool9272. He says Dorgu has no end product, right? What is the reasoning behind that, right? He's a 20-year-old Danish player who had 1 good season for Lecce in the Italian league, right? If you see him play a few games this season where he misplaces a cross or he makes the wrong run, you can't just grill him for that, right? Because he at least shows the right attitude. He's not throwing his arms up in the air. Amram seems to like him. The players seem to like him, right, in the team. And he definitely has the profile. When we saw Destiny Udogie at Tottenham cooking in Ange Postecoglou's first season, right? Dorgu reminds me a lot of him, right? In terms of the physical capabilities that he has. He has a great engine on him. He can go up and down, and that's exactly the type of player that we need in our team. So, but just by saying he doesn't have end product, I understand a bit more of the criticism towards Dallo because he's 26, right? And he's been playing in this team for a long time. But with Dorgu, we need to have more patience, guys. We can't be too reactionary, and we can't just see a few crosses going bad or him having a bad game and just give up on that player. That's not how it works.
I agree. It's just unfortunate that a club like Manchester United doesn't have one left wing back that can kind of be a role model for the other ones.
Yeah.
Like Dalot's not a role model. As far as I mean, as a human being, yeah, he's great, but as a performance, he's not cutting it right now. And I think I kind of hope we see Dorgu tomorrow. I really do. I hope we see Dorgu tomorrow. By the way, do you guys do live watch-alongs or no?
I do a live call-in show after the game.
Okay.
I don't do live watch-along. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'll be doing a live watch-along. You guys come watch the game with me tomorrow, and then we'll all go watch Footy with an Edge's call-in show after.
And you're welcome to call in, Semix. I'll be live right as soon as the game ends. So if you're done with your watch along at that point, please do come join the show and give your thoughts on the game. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, sure. I think I will. Guys, that's it from me. I don't have any other questions or thing. We've done an hour and 15 minutes. I think that's plenty. This was fun. I hope we do it again. And I hope everybody who got to watch this enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, if you're still here, by the way,
guys.
please like and subscribe to Semix, by the way, if you haven't already. And I'm seeing 100 people live, but only 80 likes. So whoever hasn't done it, I'm looking at you.
And guys, I don't know how many of you know this, but I'm also a member of Semix's channel. I'm a real one. So I can vouch firsthand, there's a lot of value into getting on the membership. If you like his content, please do consider becoming a member of the channel. It helps support the creator and it helps get you a lot more of the content that you already enjoy. And it's absolutely worth it. So highly recommended.
And last thing I'll add.
Much, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I don't ever talk about the member videos because I feel like people will think I'm trying to sell them something. But I think, Rishi, you can vouch because you're a member. You've seen the videos. They're different than the videos that I make for the public. They're a lot more open and longer because they're a lot more podcast-like. At least that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but last thing I'll say, guys, you're seeing 14 to 30-minute videos on both of our channels, right? But I don't think you see what goes on in the background and how much effort it actually takes to make this. And again, if you don't have an understanding of YouTube monetization or the YouTube economics, you might be thinking we're all rolling in the dough here. But I can assure you it is not like that. It is a lot of hard work. And yes, it can eventually pay off, when we're all having millions of subscribers, but it's a long road to get there. So any support you can show towards either one of us by liking, subscribing, most importantly, watching the videos, it means the world to us because it takes a lot of work, man. And it's not easy.
Andy's right. I mean, I can't tell you guys how many nights I've had to stay up to edit a video and then go to my actual job 4 hours of sleep later. It's not easy, but we love I like doing this. I'm enjoying myself, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for the money, guys. There's no money in it, really. Not yet, at least. Guys, anyway, thank you so much. I'll see you for the live watch along. Go check out Footy with an Edge if you haven't. Believe me, you're going to see things and hear things in those videos you haven't heard on any other channel. And I think you guys are going to like it. Thanks.
Thanks, Amix. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.